EVs are killing Volkswagen. The CEO just announced a major pushback against EVs, leaving everyone shocked and confused. The CEO of VW is shouting, literally saying, VW is not competitive anymore. We are bleeding money and the roof is on fire. VW just shook hands with a company you'd least expect in order to save themselves from dying. And get this, despite already having 50% weaker demand, VW just confirmed they will not lower EV prices. More than 1,000 workers fired, EV production stopped, and a big threat by a Chinese player might cause Volkswagen to crumble and collapse. The real threat? Electric cars. That turned out to be nothing but a huge disappointment, killing both VW and the middle class. But why do I say EVs are a bad idea? What exactly is wrong with VW? Could the German giant close its doors? And what is VW's CEO's secret partnership all about? What I'm about to tell you might change the way you think of EVs forever, so listen very closely. So you all know Volkswagen, the German automaker which is also the biggest car maker in the world, right up there with Toyota. Well, they might not stay there for long. Let me explain. Volkswagen is a brand with a rich heritage of producing quality cars. They were never like the Japanese, nor like any modern-day EV company, which would charge a lot but still give you rattly plastics all around. But the times are changing fast, and all EV companies are evolving, and VW is falling behind, and not just by a small margin. From their dated interior cabins to their massively overpriced cars, VW is having the toughest time adapting to electrification. As a matter of fact, they are being forced to make EVs by someone. But before I talk about that, let me tell you about the CEO's brutal warning that even took me by surprise. VW CEO Thomas Schaefer just hit the red alert button in a recent investors meeting. While everyone was thinking VW is profitable, he revealed that they are under huge amounts of debt, which is increasing day by day. Here are his exact words. With many of our pre-existing cars and high costs, we are no longer competitive as a brand. We're facing strong customer reluctance in the EV sector. The roof is on fire. This is the final wake-up call. They are now going against EVs and shutting down EV production. Want to know how bad the situation is for VW? In a predicament that sounds almost unbelievable, VW is now even charging a $150 fee for GPS coordinates in case of an emergency. This happened with Taylor Shepard, a mom in Illinois whose vehicle got carjacked while her baby was inside. When she reached out to the VW's CarNet service, they demanded $150 to reactivate the GPS service and provide coordinates. Luckily, a bystander found the baby before the payment was processed. But just think about it. The biggest car maker in the world is now even charging for the basics. How bad could the situation be? Competitors like Tesla and BYD, with their vast array of affordable EVs, are giving VW a run for its money. But wait, there's more. Remember the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict? These events threw a wrench in VW's supply chain, creating huge bottlenecks. The Wolfsburg-based automaker hasn't fully recovered yet. To put it bluntly, VW's future looks a bit shaky. In June, VW announced plans to cut costs by a whopping $11 billion. And then CEO Thomas Schaefer began to panic. At a staff meeting in Wolfsburg, Gunnar Killian, a member of VW's board of management, mentioned that they are going to cut costs heavily and ditch EVs for now. Now, when the CEO said the roof is on fire, he wasn't just trying to be dramatic. He was highlighting the urgency and severity of VW's problems as they transition to electric vehicles, while still catering to the global market with traditional internal combustion engine models. Over 2,000 senior managers heard him call for an immediate freeze on spending because costs are skyrocketing. Schaefer warned that the next weeks and months could be very tough and urged managers to focus on small wins. But the challenges don't stop there. VW's sales in China, their largest market, are down. They've had to slash prices on their most profitable models to stay competitive against Chinese brands, both in the electric and traditional vehicle sectors. Now, let's talk about EV production. In October, VW put a halt to producing 2 of its flagship EV models at its factories in Germany, citing shrinking demand due to cuts in government subsidies. This reduction in support for battery electric or fuel cell cars hit them hard, especially since 70% of the EVs made at their Zwickau factory are for companies. Around 1,000 employees at the Zwickau plant were let go as a result of this. Plus, rising costs in Europe are pushing VW and others like BMW and Tesla to build more cars in China and then export them. VW's even planning to produce the new electric SUV Cupra Tavascan in China for a launch in Europe next year. But with the EU investigating Chinese EV subsidies, it's unclear how long this strategy will work. This is even bad for the US market since they will not qualify for any EV subsidies, raising the already high cost even further. To save themselves, VW has joined hands with a secret partner, but let's look at the reasons behind their EVs not selling in the first place. The EV market is like a roller coaster ride right now. Everyone thought EVs were going to take over the world pretty soon, but guess what? The middle class has stopped buying overpriced EVs with small range. No one is buying the fake lies that companies are promising. Everyone knows our charging infrastructure is simply not there yet, but the political leaders didn't want you to know. You see, companies like VW, Ford, and GM are constantly under massive pressure from the government to shift to EVs and abandon ICEs just for their personal gain. What they don't understand is the fact that mandating EVs is fine, but when will you think about the affordability crisis? You announce a ban on gas-powered cars, but what about the common folks looking for a car under $20,000? Once they showed an EV future that was far from reality, everyone jumped on the hype, but now the demand for EVs is slowly dying out. Reality is catching up. One of the biggest hurdles is the cost. EVs are still pretty expensive for the average Joe. The average selling price for an EV was around $60,683 in November, according to Cox Automotive. Another big issue is charging these cars. In the US, there are about 141,714 public charging ports. Sounds like a lot, right? But it's not enough. We need way more, especially faster chargers, to support all the EVs expected to hit the roads. And let's not even start on how many of these existing chargers are the slower kind, not functional, or inaccessible. So what are the automakers doing about all this? Well, some big names like Volkswagen, General Motors, Ford, and even Tesla are putting the brakes on their EV plans. GM and Ford have paused work on new EV factories and dialed back their sales targets. Honda even ditched a plan to make affordable EVs with GM. Battery makers like Panasonic and LG Energy Solution are also warning about a slowdown in the EV market. But here's where Volkswagen went incredibly wrong. Imagine you're running a shop and hardly anyone's buying what you're selling. You'd probably think about dropping prices, right? Well, not VW. Even though VW sales are down, VW is not cutting prices. Other car manufacturers are slashing prices to keep up with the market and demand, but not VW. Their chief financial officer, Arno Antlitz, explains that this decision is part of their broader strategy to recover profitability. They're focusing on cutting costs elsewhere. This only puts them out of touch with their customers. VW's recent quarterly reports haven't been great, especially regarding raw material prices. They've released preliminary third-quarter results, leading to a reduction in their profit margin guidance for the year. It's clear that they're not hitting the numbers they hoped for. Antlitz expressed disappointment over this, but it seems like they're not ready to change their pricing strategy. Their own EV order intake in Europe plummeted from 300,000 in 2022 to just 150,000 this year. That's a massive drop. However, Antlitz seems optimistic, indicating a gradual increase in orders in the third quarter and anticipating further growth in the coming months. But not all hope is lost. VW is in talks with none other than France's Renault about a partnership. What's the deal? They're thinking of joining forces to develop a $20,000 car. A pretty sweet price point, right? This isn't just any EV. It's one that aims to bring battery-powered vehicles to the masses. Think of it as the people's electric car. The talks are still in the early stages, and it's all a bit hush-hush, but the potential is enormous. We're talking about an annual production target of 200,000 to 250,000 vehicles for both partners together. That's a significant number of cars that could flood the streets, making EVs more common than ever. Then, VW even has another partner. They're also teaming up with Xpeng in China to produce cheaper batteries and 10 new EV models priced under $30,000 within the next 5 years. But whether or not this gamble will pay off still remains to be seen. If Volkswagen wants to recover, it is high time that they come back to their senses and start listening to the buyers again. For now, the future of EVs seems quite unpredictable, and if things stay like this, we might see some major companies fall in the near future. Over to you. Do you think Volkswagen will be able to survive the EV race? Let me know in the comments below. I just uploaded a video about groundbreaking news that could shake up the entire EV industry. Do check it out if you want to be truly shocked by what's about to happen with EVs.